right? Like from mixing process, but like because this is like I don't well the class on like how to make curly noodles, so we skip the mixing part, and then so maybe we made this dough in advance, right? The mixer. So this is it's like 4 kilo batch. So 4 kilo means the flour, right? So the ingredients is a 4 kilo, and obviously this is a ramen noodle dough. So the protein content is 11 to 12%. So like it's kind of hard dough, right? Hard flour. But hydration, we want it to be like kind of high because like if it's too low, then the when we make them curly noodle, like they break, right? So we want to have hydration relatively high. Um, yeah, we want them like depending on the flour you use, like protein content flour you use, you want it to be over say like 32% at least. And also like it depends on the noodle size you're making. If it's thicker, then they tend to break right when we make them curly. And if the hydration is like low. Okay, so we are going like the machine is like feeding dough into the roller and making the sheet of dough, right? So we start from the roller gap, like we start from 1.5 millimeter. And so this machine, like you can see, on this just touch panel control, almost like everything, like what everything that's going on in this machine. And so it's now feeding the dough, right? And then like making a sheet of dough right now, and then like so it's automatic, right? On other machine, like you have to manually feed the dough into the roller by hand, but like this machine, like it's automatic. So all you have to do is just like place the dough in the hopper, and then well, you just have to like kind of the beginning of the dough sheet, like you just have to like yeah wind it in the rolling pin, and then the rest is automatic, right? So yeah, so this machine is popular among businesses that that are like having a hard time like to find skilled labor. Like nowadays, like it's kind of getting harder and hard for especially like food industry to find skilled labor, skilled workers. So this machine is great for yeah that kind of situation like where again it's really hard, like it's getting harder and harder like for you to like find skilled workers, so that this machine can like allow anyone to make quality noodles, right? So yeah, and then at this point, right, at this process, like we're just kind of going slow, because we want to apply like really good pressure to make this dough sheet. Okay, and so that was like 1.5 millimeter roller gap, right? And so just made a sheet of dough, right? And then, but this dough is like still very fragile, like weak, right? So we want to make it strong, like firm, right? To do that, right, we want to separate it into two sheets and combine them into one through the roller. So we're gonna pass it through the rollers, right, and then make into one sheet. So two separate sheets are going into the roller, right, and then So the machine is sheeting automatically, and then the roll gap is about like 2.1 millimeter. Like, and then it actually adjusts the like roll speed, automatically, and it kind of goes faster, like when it's necessary, and then so it's very. I mean, you don't really have to like worry about like anything. You just let the machine do the job, and then you know you're end up like making really good noodles. And so this is right now like we're doing like roller process, the sheeting process, right? And so the dough, we are kind of like working the dough right now, like by combining two separate sheets together, right, so into one. Working the dough, so like it's kind of like working muscle, you know, making tougher and tougher, and so that like we're making like some like ideal noodle texture in this process. So it's it gets like translated into like firmness, like chewiness, like the hardness of the noodles texture. So this process is very important, like making like quality noodles. So as you maybe will like notice that like noodle dough surface like smoother, like cleaner, right, than before. And so we usually do this process like combining twice, one to twice, right, one to two times, like just to make sure that we have the ideal noodle texture, right? So the same thing, like just kind of separating the into two separate sheets, right? And then so from this point on, what me did was like maybe turn on the automatic duster, and then so this duster is like set on the back of the car machine, right? And then it's only dusting, and by doing that, right, the dough that's going to combined, right, gets dusted. Because from this point on, like we don't want the dough to stick together, right? So at the same time, like this dough gets combined, the outside of the dough, right, gets dusted, and so this is a very important process. Like as we talked about, like dusting, we have to like we need to dust the noodles well, right, for curly noodles. Otherwise, like the noodles get stuck together, and then like that's really bad. So we want to dust the dough, from this point on, very well. And usually curry noodles are kind of high, like tend to be high in hydration, which means that like it's it's wetter, right? Um, it has like more moisture and more water, right? So like tends to stick together. So dusting needs to be done like really well. Um, surface. Right. So after after this combining process, and we'll just start thinning, to the final thickness of the noodle size that we're aiming at, right? And then we're gonna cut like, so we can make like different sizes, like, from the same dough, just to sort of like show like how, well, how like quality, what kind of parts like we need to use, right, to make them quality at the different noodle sizes. So now we are thinning the dough sheet at like 2 millimeter. Yeah, so from this point on, like, we can go faster, and we just, because like we just thinning it, we're not working the dough, so just wanna thin it, right, into the final thickness, so we can go faster, right, this sheeting process. Okay, right. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this dough sheet, right, it's going through a roll gap of like 2 millimeter, and but we want to check the measurement of the actual thickness, see if there's a discrepancy between the actual thickness. Yeah, so that's 2.5, right? Like after it's going to like 2.0. So the dough, just expanded like by 0.5, right? So that's the sort of, like bounce back like ratio, like difference between the actual thickness and the roller gap. And yeah, so we're going to cut, right? We're going to cut, and but we're going cutting at like different thickness. So we'll just like separate dough, right? Different little sizes, different cutters. So yeah, so we're gonna do like three different sizes, right? So it's important to wrap up the dough, right, while it's waiting for its turn, right? Because otherwise the dough gets dry like really fast, and lose moisture when exposed to the air. So yeah, it's very important to wrap it up, right? And then this is like how this is also like how we do the resting process as well. Like that's the second resting process. So just make sure that like it's completely wrapped up, right? And then like try to like to get rid of like air, like as much air as possible, right? So that the dough doesn't lose moisture over time. Okay. So we'll cut this one. And we'll cut a 1.5 millimeter like roller gap, and so we expect the this dough to bounce back by like 0.5 or 0.4 something. So you know, like the thickness like we are aiming at is like 1.9, 2.0 millimeter, and so we'll use this kind of cutter, right? And then like we put that the plates in the back, right? Yeah, like that. And so there's clearance between like these two plates, right? So that's where the noodles coming out, and then you know in the process like the noodle gets curled, right? Okay, so let's start cutting and. So what's great about this machine is that like the you know where you can catch noodles coming out, it's kind of really high from the floor, right? So like you can just have this kind of chair and like sit on it and then like you know catch noodles. And so like if you're you know cutting like with like in 200 portions or something like in a row, and then you have to sit there like for I don't know like 15 minutes like you know so the noodles just keep coming out, right? And then so the awkward posture, right? So like you hurt your back or something, and then you know that's it's not good, right? And then at the same time, um, the if you place this machine like in a place where you know your customers can see, and it's kind of great entertainment for our customers to see like you know how the like the noodles coming out, like just the noodles they're gonna eat, right, are just being made like in front of them, right? So that's kind of good kind of presentation that you can have like in your noodle shop, like you know, about a micro noodle factory. So okay, so the noodle is going, I mean, the dough sheet is going to the cutter, right? And then so now right now it's like getting curled, right? The noodle is getting curled in there and coming out, right? So that's how curled this is, right? And then so the silicone plates that we are using on this cutter like is 3 millimeter, right? 3 millimeter is like kind of thick, right? It's very thick, right? So if you're using, if you're making like well, kind of thick noodles like this, then and then you know you may want to like use the thicker like some plates like 3 millimeter, right? And yeah, and I think these are kind of great, gonna be like great noodles for like, sort of like dipping noodles or like um, maybe like kind of thick kind of miso ramen noodles or something. And so like we got about yeah kind of like 10 portions like in this, or like one portion is like really big. This one so yeah so that's one kind of thicker version of like curl noodles, a thicker version. All right, so let's do thinner version, right? And then again, like we have the parts like in the back of the counter, right? And then this is how much the space, right, between these two silicone plates. Okay, so that's number 22, about 1.4 millimeter. Oh, right. Oh, okay. Right, so like we set the little gap to 1.0 millimeter, and again, like we expect that dough to bounce back by 0.4, 0.5. So the target thickness like we are aiming at is like about 1.4, 1.5 millimeter, and so we're going to use that dough, right? Okay, so the dough sheet is going to the cutter, right, and then the noodles are coming out. The noodles are just getting curled right now. There, right, and it's coming out. It's like thin noodle and like kind of lightly curled. Yeah, and then we're so we're making like different sizes of noodles, different size noodles, from the same dough, right? But like when we change the noodle size, right, and then like you try them, right, and then the noodles texture is like totally different. They're totally different. So even though it's from the same dough, right? So you want to try that, see like well, just kind of making different size noodles, right, from the same dough. See if how they change, how the noodle texture changes, right? And so the last one we want to do, right, is another way to actually make noodles curly. So again, like we are gonna do different size. So this one is like a little bit thicker than, well, a little bit wider than the one we did just now. Use like number 18, right? That's number 18, like, but no attachment on the back, right? Number 18, like it's like 1.6, 1.7 millimeter, and relatively thicker than the one we did before, right? And so we're basically making straight noodles, right? Straight noodles. This one, but we're gonna make them curly. Okay. Yeah, so for this firm, right, she's making me set that roller gap to 1.3 millimeter, and expect that dough to bounce back like zero point 0.5 or so. It's like we're aiming at like 1.8 ish, and so we're cutting noodles are coming now, and that will be our straight, right? The straight noodles. So we're getting about like 10 servings from the batch, right? All right, so we got the 10 straight noodles, like 10 portions of straight noodles, and then so we're gonna curl them, right? And then how we do that is that like we are going to curl them by hand. Right? So maybe dust it, then while, right? And then like kind of like rubbing them, like kind of squeezing them, right? And then so by making them curl like that, or kind of making them curl like in kind of randomly. So like kind of use kind of unique texture, right? So certain parts like they're curled like heavier, right? And then like the other part like kind of curled like lighter. And so like it gives you kind of unique texture, like kind of randomness with like curled noodles, and then you know other parts like really curled. So it's kind of fun to kind of bite in, and then so some ramen shops actually they curl the noodles to order, right? So like when you order, like place an order, like the guy just call the noodles for you or something. And yeah, so it's curled to order system kind of. um, and then some people prefer it like so, like hand curled noodles are kind of um, perceived like kind of high value too. And then yeah, some ramen shops like really do it like by hand, right, to order, right, and the customers can see like their noodles are being curled from them, right. So it's another way to make your noodles curly, and um, so yeah, that's how it's done. And so okay. So this is like two different yeah, curled noodles, right. And then what I want to show, right, like in the last one is that like so how you can like adjust the how you can adjust the parts, like it's kind of technical, but like for those of you like who are been doing this like for quite some time, like you see like so it's like so that space, right, space between like these two pieces of like silicon plates. So this is like how strong the resistance you can make, right. So if you close this gap, right, and then like the noodles get like more resistance, right, and then so from coming out, like so you can make them curlier, right, but then you just make the space like wider, then like they get lighter. And then the other thing you can do is that like look at these parts, right, like these parts, like metal parts, right, and then if you kind of move the parts like forward, right, like towards the exit, and then so with these parts like being like closer to the edge of the silicon plates, it gets more stronger, right? This yeah, resistance like can just stretch like it's stronger, so the noodle get curlier, right? So that's how sort of like you can adjust the positioning of like these parts to like make them curlier, like make them like lighter curl, right? Yeah, and then some, it's kind of getting too technical, but like if you experience like kind of having like noodles like kind of coming out, like kind of getting stuck right in the inside the cutter, you may have like kind of better results like by kind of cutting the corner, right? Just corner, right? Making cuts in the corner, right? And then so the noodle like get come out like kind of easier, right? So that like there's less noodle like that are stuck in there. So yeah, that's the kind of tip yeah I can give like for making curry noodles. And so yeah, curry noodles are awesome, right? They give you like kind of unique texture and everything, and then kind of well, people look at curry noodles and like they get kind of excited, like so I mean they so and then the noodle hardness, like noodle size, the hydration, and so on, right? So yeah, so that's what we had for this class, and